This was not just a war of trenches and artillery. It was not merely a struggle fought with bayonets, barbed wire, and mud. World War I was also a silent financial war, fought in gold reserves, bond markets, and behind the closed doors of central banks. A war waged at desks by people who never once set foot on the battlefield. Soldiers paid the price with their blood, while bankers and governments calculated calmly. The decisions made during those years not only determined victory and defeat, but also laid the foundations of the global financial system that still surrounds us today. If you think war is only about armies and political decisions, think again, because World War I proved that money is a weapon and one of the most dangerous ever created. In 1914, Europe was already on edge, and rivalries, colonial ambitions, and military alliances had turned the continent into a chessboard of paranoia. Yet there was a truth no one wanted to admit. A war on this scale could not be fought without unimaginable amounts of money. When leaders chose war, they also chose debt, placing entire societies under a burden that would stretch far into the future. Many believed the conflict would be short and paid for with gold, limited borrowing, and patriotic donations. That illusion collapsed within weeks as the war burned money at an incomprehensible rate. Europe was still tied to the gold standard. Money was supposed to be exchangeable for gold, a system that inspired trust but severely limited governments. Gold was finite, and endless printing meant the collapse of credibility. Despite large reserves, the mobilization of millions and the redirection of industry caused costs to explode. By late 1914, Germany was spending over 10 million marks a day, while Britain's daily bill reached £2.5 million. The math no longer worked. Gold was not enough. One by one, governments suspended the rules and abandoned the gold standard. Money was no longer backed by metal, but by faith in the state. This breaking of the gold anchor was one of the greatest turning points in modern financial history. Wealth detached from metal and became driven by printing presses, credit, and persuasion. Once governments experienced this freedom, they never returned. Germany, cut off from global markets and blockaded by the British Navy, turned inward. Massive war bond campaigns appealed to patriotism and sacrifice, raising over 100 billion marks. But the system rested on hope, not solidity. Defeat rendered the bonds worthless, wiping out lifetime savings and planting the seeds of deep resentment that would later shape history. Britain held a crucial advantage as the world's financial center. When domestic resources proved insufficient, attention turned to the United States. Though officially neutral, American banks, especially J.P. Morgan and Company, became the financial lifeline of Britain and France. By 1917, Wall Street had already been deeply involved. This was not charity, but power. The U.S. emerged from the war as the world's leading creditor, explaining why the 20th century became the American century. France followed a similar path, increasingly dependent on American capital. Russia's situation was far worse. Inflation spiraled, faith in the ruble collapsed, and economic breakdown helped trigger political collapse in 1917. When the war ended, the figures were staggering. The Allies spent around $140 billion. The Central Powers, about $60 billion. The gold standard lay in ruins, inflation spread everywhere, and Germany descended into hyperinflation, where bread cost billions of marks. Ordinary people paid the price. The script written in 1914 still feels familiar today. Rising debt, temporary inflation, and money created at the press of a button. When money detaches from reality, it becomes a powerful tool of manipulation. Governments always find a way, but the bill is passed to others. Real wealth is not numbers on a screen. It is knowledge, awareness, and endurance. History does not lie. It speaks to those who know how to listen.